What if I told you that a part of someone else's body could bring their nightmares into your mind? That their death could haunt you because now a piece of them lives inside you? My name is Claire Mitchell, and 3 weeks ago, I was given a second chance at life. But I think I inherited something far worse than just a new heart. It all started after my surgery. The doctors said everything went perfectly. I was lucky. The waiting list for a heart transplant is long, and not everyone gets the chance I did. But from the moment I woke up, something felt wrong. At first, I thought it was the medication, the dizziness, the foggy mind. It made sense. But then came the dreams. The first one was simple but disturbing. I was running. My legs were weak and my breath was ragged, but I could feel pure terror in my chest, the kind of fear that makes your body numb. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding, except it wasn't mine. It was too fast, too erratic. And behind me, heavy footsteps followed, closing in. I woke up gasping, my new heart slamming against my ribs. It felt too real, like I had just escaped something. I told myself it was just stress. My body had been through a lot, after all. But the dreams didn't stop. The next night, it was worse. I wasn't running this time. I was in a car, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My breathing was shallow, and I felt it again, that overwhelming fear. Someone was next to me in the passenger seat, but I couldn't turn my head to look at them. Then a voice whispered, "Please, don't let him find me." My whole body jerked awake. My hospital room was dark, the beeping of machines the only sound. But I wasn't alone. Something moved in the corner of the room. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. The darkness seemed thicker there, like a shadow detached from the rest of the room. I reached for the call button, but when I blinked, the figure was gone. I didn't sleep again that night. By the time morning came, I convinced myself it was just the after effects of surgery. Hallucinations weren't uncommon, and I had been through a lot. But when I asked my nurse about the donor, who they were, how they died, she only gave me a tight smile and said, "That's confidential." That was the first time I felt truly afraid. Because if my donor had died peacefully, why did their memories feel like a nightmare? For the next few days, I tried to ignore the dreams. I told myself they were just remnants of anesthesia, my mind trying to process the trauma of surgery. But the more I ignored them, the worse they got. Every night, I was back in that car. Every night, the same terrified breathing, the same paralyzing fear. But each time, I could hear something new. A phone ringing, the sound of a distant car horn, a voice whispering a name. "Emily, help me!" I jolted awake, heart racing, drenched in sweat. My hands trembled as I clutched the sheets. Emily. That wasn't my name. But it meant something. I knew it did. By now, I had recovered enough to go home. My doctors called my progress remarkable, but I didn't feel lucky anymore, because every time I looked in the mirror, something felt off. The first time I noticed it, I was brushing my teeth. I leaned forward, spitting into the sink, and when I looked back up, my reflection was staring at me. Not in the normal way. No, it was wrong. The tilt of the head, the sharpness in the eyes, like I had just caught someone else wearing my face. I stumbled back, my pulse pounding in my ears. I squeezed my eyes shut, took a deep breath, and when I looked again, it was normal, just me. But as I turned away, I saw it. Words, faintly drawn into the foggy bathroom mirror, as if written by an invisible hand. "Help her." I stared, my body frozen in place. I hadn't written that. I hadn't even touched the mirror. But as the steam cleared, the words slowly disappeared. I wanted to believe it was all in my head, that my mind was still adjusting. But deep down, I knew better. I wasn't alone, and whoever had given me this heart, they were still trying to tell me something. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The dreams, the whispers, the writing on the mirror. This wasn't just in my head. Something or someone was trying to reach me. I needed answers. The hospital wouldn't tell me who my donor was, but there were ways to find out. I started with what little I knew. The transplant had been recent. That meant the donor had died just days before my surgery. If it was a tragic death, an accident, a crime, it would have been in the news. So I started searching. I combed through articles, reading about recent deaths in the city. Some were car accidents, some were overdoses. None of them felt right. Until I found her. Emily Carter, 24 years old, reported missing 3 weeks ago, body found 4 days later, cause of death, unknown. But there was one detail that made my blood run cold. She was an organ donor. My hands shook as I clicked through the article, my chest tightening. Emily. That was the name I had heard in my dreams. That was the voice whispering for help. I should have stopped. I should have shut my laptop and walked away. But I didn't. Instead, I searched for her photo. And when I found it, I felt the air leave my lungs, because I had seen her before. Not in real life, not in any news report. I had seen her in my dreams, in that car, gripping the steering wheel, her face twisted in terror. And suddenly, I understood. These weren't dreams, these were memories. And if they were memories, that meant Emily didn't die naturally. Someone had killed her. And now, through me, she was trying to show me who. Now that I had a name, I couldn't stop. The deeper I dug, the more I realized something was wrong with Emily's case. The police had ruled her death as unexplained. No signs of struggle, no clear cause. Her body had been found in an abandoned parking lot, miles from where she was last seen. But I knew the truth. She didn't die there. She died in that car. And if I kept following the memories, I would know who was with her. That night, I let the dream take me. I didn't fight it, didn't try to wake up. I wanted to see it all. When the dream began, I was already inside the car. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my breath shaky. The road ahead was dark, trees flashing past on either side. I felt her fear. Then came the sound. A phone vibrating, a ringtone cutting through the silence. I reached for it. No, Emily reached for it. The screen lit up, a name. I struggled to focus, to make it out. No, a voice whispered. Don't answer. My breath caught. Someone was in the back seat. I couldn't see them, but I felt them. A shadow in the rearview mirror, watching. Please, Emily whispered. I did what you asked. Just let me go. Silence. Then a hand, cold, strong, reached from behind, covering my mouth. And the last thing I felt was pressure around my throat. I woke up gasping, clawing at my neck. My heart, Emily's heart, was slamming against my ribs. I knew how she died now. She had been strangled. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the name I had seen on the phone. The last person who had called her before she died. It was someone I knew. Someone who had been checking on me ever since the surgery. Someone who had been so interested in how I was feeling, how my recovery was going. Dr. Ethan Walsh, my surgeon. I couldn't breathe. Dr. Ethan Walsh, the man who had saved my life. The man who had given me this heart. Emily's heart. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be possible. But I knew what I saw. I knew what I felt. The moment his name appeared on my screen, I felt a sickening certainty. He had killed her. And now, he was the one taking care of me. I had to be careful. If Emily had been afraid of him, I had every reason to be too. I didn't know what he was capable of, but I needed proof, so I did something reckless. I called him. Claire, he answered smoothly. How are you feeling? I gripped my phone tight. I'm fine. I actually wanted to talk to you about something. Oh? There was a pause. Everything all right? I swallowed hard. I found out about my donor. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then, too calm, he said, That's confidential information. I know, I whispered, but I looked her up. Another pause. Then, softer, almost amused. That was a bad idea. My stomach dropped. He knew. I heard movement on the other end of the line. A chair scraping. Footsteps. Claire? He murmured, his voice like silk. I'll be over soon for a checkup. The call ended. My hands shook as I lowered the phone. I wasn't safe. I had never been safe. Emily hadn't just given me her heart, she had given me her final warning. And if I didn't act fast, I would be next. I grabbed my car keys and ran. I didn't know where I was going, just away. My hands were shaking as I started the engine, my breath coming fast and shallow. Then, in the rearview mirror, a shadow, a figure in the back seat. I screamed, spinning around. But no one was there, just me. And yet, as I stared at the empty seat, I felt it. Emily's presence. Her heart pounding inside me, her voice whispering in my mind. Drive. So I did. I drove straight to the police. I told them everything, the dreams, the memories, the name on the phone. I knew how it sounded, crazy, insane. But when I showed them the call logs, the timestamps, the pattern of Emily's last known location matching my visions, they listened. And when they searched Dr. Walsh's house, they found what they needed. Bloodstains, a hidden phone, Emily's necklace buried in a drawer. He had done it. He had killed her. And now, because of her, because of me, he was caught. It's been weeks since then. Dr. Walsh is in custody. The case is officially closed. But sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I still feel her. A heartbeat that's not quite mine. A presence in the dark. I don't think Emily ever really left. And honestly, because without her, I'd be dead. And maybe, just maybe, she's still keeping me safe. The story ends here. If you're loving our content, then make sure subscribe the channel, because next time we meet, we will come with new story. So don't miss out.